They are worried.
Do we begin?
It's 2 minutes.
Oh, you started at 9:30.
Oh, 2 minutes. Yeah.
So excited I can't.
It's advertised for 9:30, so we have to start that.
I didn't know why I started.
I don't even know. Shattered plans. Eyes and plans, yeah. Whatever.
Well, meeting in order, I want to acknowledge the Smoky Valley, which we learn, work, and organize as the ancestral tradition of unceded territory of the Smoky people, and home and layout for Smoky Native Band. Good adoption of the agenda.
So seconded.
Any changes? Just a word. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. No minutes from the last one, so decisions and delegations. We have one delegation today. So I have to read this preamble to you and then. Each delegation shall be limited to 15-minute presentation unless a longer period is agreed on by 2/3 majority vote of council members present. The town Princeton Council by resolution carried unanimously provides an opportunity for individuals to address council as per delegation/petitions with regard to items included on the agenda, including bylaws in which the public hearing and consultation period has been held. Council reserves the right to refuse an individual to speak if that individual has spoken in the previous meeting regarding an item. Individuals wishing to participate in this opportunity are required to put their names on a list and reference the agenda item that is to be addressed. Each person will have a maximum of 15 minutes. So you have 15 minutes. The floor is yours.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks for meeting with us. Concerned people here and in town in general. And I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Bill Montgomery. I've lived in town most of my life. I'm a taxpayer for 45 years. I live on Carina Avenue on the floodplain. We built our house 12 years ago, with a permit from the town on the floodplain. And, in 2003, the inspection for the dikes, place the dikes wherever, and to maintain the dikes and inspect them was given to the town. In 2018, in the spotlight, May the 9th, the information officer for town said there's no immediate danger. Over the years, the town has been diligent in maintaining dikes and increasing the dikes, and we're in a pretty good position in terms of fortification. In 2019, the Dobson report was requested from the RDOS here in town, and in the Dobson report, there was a couple of recommendations. One recommendation was to dike the Smilkameen from Stout Street to the Silver Bridge on Highway 3, and that was done at a cost of $3 million. The other recommendation was to dike Carina Avenue from 438 to 488 Carina. The report specifically said that we are not protected at all, and there's a real risk of flooding. The price that he put was $1.3 million, and it was not done. We were not protected, and today we still sit at Carina unprotected. The reason we're here is because we went to that meeting that you were at, Spencer, and we got no reply from you or from anybody from town since. And we need to know what's going on here. Where are we in this process? So really, that's why I wanted to have this meeting, just to see if we can get a response. What happened actually across from Karina is you protected the maintenance yard. You built a dike there and you put them big blocks on top to protect the maintenance yard, which actually we all know didn't work. It flooded. Now you've moved the maintenance yard. And I see a real good opportunity here to clean up that contaminated area. After the flood, you know, there's vehicles and machinery and who knows, grease pits and everything happening over there. That soil and that area there has got to be contaminated. So there's an opportunity there to get rid of that and to move the dike back to the road. Because that dike is compromised. Just like your consultant said from True, the dikes in Princeton are all compromised. You can't put weight on them, put them boxes on. But in particular for Karina, there's an opportunity there to access all of that land and that area and that acreage that is probably contaminated. To move that dike back along the road there and solidify that slope. And so there's a lot of area there. There's an opportunity there. There's an option. Besides relocating us from Karina or whatever the option you guys are looking at. Anyways, all I got to say really is there's another concern in Karina is we have the sewer line that runs right along the river between the houses and the river. And during the flood, the water was over top of those manholes and it was gushing out down farther with this lower area. So that's not a good place for a sewer line. You know, 25 feet from the river, top of the river on my property, the manhole sits right there. As soon as the water comes over, it's going to go into the sewer system and then it, you know, what it did. Anyways, I'm not here to try to get anyone in trouble or to try to, you know, take someone's job away from them or anything like that. I'm here to represent concerned citizens that are wondering where we go from here. What do we do now? Now that we have this over our head, these options hanging over us. Like can we sell our house? What's our property value now? You know? And really, the main concern is there a plan to protect Karina at all? You've got the whole town protected with dikes except Karina. You know? Like, we're very concerned about that. Like, everybody on Karina now is wondering about their property value, about, you know, can we sell in good faith when we know that maybe someone that buys it's going to get bought out and moved? I mean, that's really something that hangs over our heads, you know, and it's something that I think, you know, through communication and transparency, we can get through this thing, where we go. Yeah, I don't care where we go, really. I'd like to get Karina protected first and then make decisions after that, you know. You had a consultant in here and you never did what he said, recommended that you did. And now you have another consultant come in. Are you going to do what he says or are you not going to do what he says also? I honestly believe that we need communication. We need direction here. You know, like myself personally, in good faith, I would not sell my house right now. I wouldn't, thinking that the guy that I'm selling it to is going to get screwed. So, you know, this is where we're sitting right now. I've got 10 questions or 9 questions here that I'd like, and if you guys want copies, I can pass them out to you. But I've got these questions here and I'm just wondering, are we going to get answers? Maybe we won't get answers right now today, that's fine. But sometime in the near future, we'd like some answers.
Well, you're correct.
Yeah.
My first question is, did you receive the $1.3 million in the Dobson report to dike Karina? And if you did, why wasn't it done? You know, and like I say, we're grown-ups here.
So we never received any, right?
Okay, I don't want interruptions. I don't want anyone to interrupt me right now. I've only got so much time. I want to do this presentation.
We can extend your time. I just want to know this for myself. So did you receive money for? First answer, we didn't receive any money for that.
But you did receive money for the spill.
They did receive, the previous council did receive money and they built down by.
This one, Patrick Robbins was,
No, we have.
we can extend that.
We can extend it. That's not a problem. Let's have this conversation now because I want to put this stuff to bed. If there's misconception, if there's issues, let's deal. I'd rather deal with some of the stuff right now. These are really easy ones that we know, the staff know, then let's answer. Right? Let's not let this fester because if we allow it to fester, it's going to get worse. So I know Patrick Robbins, when he was CAO, there was work done at that time. I'm not sure if You were there at the time, Randy or not, Calvin, so no. Might have been after, so. But that was the last time there was any money.
So you never received the money to do Karina?
No.
Okay, good, thanks. What, in the meantime now, my second question is, are we gonna protect Karina? Is there a plan to protect us now? It's 5 years later since that recommendation and nothing's been done.
So the new recommendations you've seen, 4 recommendations. So since we had the public meeting, we've gotten feedback from the public meeting. The engineers are working on including the feedback that we got from the public meeting. That's why you had two public meetings with residents and 1 public meeting with the business owners in town. So that the engineers could get feedback so that they could try to work some of your concerns into a response. There's actually way more than 4. There's just some that are really bad, and these are the ones that were the best options that covered the majority. So the engineers are right now working on an option 5 that includes the feedback from the public meeting. We're also working on another public meeting to get further feedback, and so the engineers can come present that to you guys as well.
So you are planning on another public meeting, so the public can come and ask questions or something? Oh, that would be great, that would be great. I guess what I'm saying is, in the meantime, what about Karina? What about us? The whole town.
So here's
tight.
the problem.
Karina's not.
Here is the problem. There is absolutely 0 funding right now for us to do any dike work. 0. We have received $0 to do any dike work. That's new dike work. We got money to fix the dike that had the hole in it, and that's all the money we got for dike. We put in an
The guy from
application.
True,
We put in an application that will be 40% funded for $50 million. So we will get 40% of $50 million if we get that money, and then we have to come up with the rest. Right now, we have received $0 through that program to get any funding.
and you've applied for funding.
We've applied for $50 million.
What about the sewer line? Is that possible that we can move that away from the river? That's not a good place for sewer line. It really isn't.
We can discuss it. It would go on as a property tax to the residents in that neighborhood.
So have you set any kind of timeline or anything? This is like this question here.
Back to the funding.
Yeah, with the lack of funding, then there's nothing.
Yeah. We have $4 million a year of taxation that includes the money for the sewer and water upgrades. We could take everything that we collect, forget about everything else, and we're not touching the problem. But then we cut every other service in town. So this is the problem we're having. Until we have funding, we don't have a plan. And I understand you guys' frustration. We're just as frustrated. We can't move forward on anything new at this point because there's no funding for any of it.
I honestly don't think you can understand the frustration when we own a house and we can't sell it, and we don't even know what it's worth. We don't know what's going to happen to us in the future. In good faith, are you going to tell us we can sell our houses or not? What's the answer to that?
I can't tell you what to do with your problem.
Well, I noticed there's people on Karina that have for sale signs. And really,
My sister lives down the street from.
no, we're all in this together. We're not, but we just feel separate on Karina right now. We do. We're not protected. There's no conversation about protecting us. There's nobody talking to us. And now this comes out, this mitigation thing, and here it is. Retreat. You know what I mean? Like leave your house and go to higher ground. Well, really, this process, like you said, might take years. It might take decades. Well, decades. What are we going to do?
Than you and I are going to be here.
Yeah. Well, what are we going to do here? Are we going to help the people in Karina? Or are we just going to ignore them again? Because this is not really good. This is not a good thing to just ignore us down there.
We're not ignoring you. That's why we had public hearings so that we get feedback from you guys. And that's why the engineers are working on another plan based on the feedback that we got. I don't know what's in that new report. I don't know what's in the new option yet. I haven't seen it. I've only seen what you guys have seen. That's all council knows, is what you guys have seen is what council knows.
I think it's important to note too that the purpose of those public meetings is actually to gather information as well. And so True has been, taking all the information and modeling these things. So they've actually run about 1,500 different scientific models on what if you did this, what if you did this, what if you did this. And so we're still looking at, what is the problem? What is it going to look like in the future? And what can we do? So council doesn't have any decision. They haven't made any decisions. They're still looking at options. And these meetings are important because like you just mentioned, what if we were to widen it at the shop? Well, I'll ask them to model that, and we'll get a scientific result on, will that help? How much will it help? Maybe it's useless. I don't know. How much land on Carina do we need to put a dike up? Like these are things that we'll model and they'll come back with results. And so decisions that are going to be made by this council or future councils will be based on a scientific basis.
Yeah, well, back to the maintenance yard, yeah, I think, maybe you should take some samples there and see how contaminated that is and kill two birds with one stone. Get rid of that contamination right by the river and then move it back and you can get a lot of land that way. You can get a lot of area that way, for the river to go that way instead of our way. And also in the meantime,
The other big
we
problem,
need to get protected.
there's another big problem. That's Highway 5A.
Mhm.
We need Highway 5A, we need the bridge moved. You lift it up, widen. Otherwise, everything that we do in town right now is almost pointless.
I totally agree with that. I totally agree that there's a
Trying-
bottleneck there at the Brown Bridge.
The
There's so much pressure on the dikes there.
5A.
The guy that owned the Riverside Cabin spoke at the meeting. I think he said, his dike was compromised. He knew it was compromised, but there's so much pressure coming when the water was, trying to get by the Brown Bridge. I honestly believe the Brown's Bridge has got to go. I hate to say it. I love that bridge. But we need to get rid of that bridge and we need to expand.
So that's,
Expand so the bottleneck isn't so bad right at town where it compromises
so
the
that's,
dike.
that's something we're looking at. As you guys all know, we're looking at having to replace the Brown Bridge the next few years. We don't have the funding to replace the Brown Bridge. We're looking at what does it mean if we make it wider there and get rid of the Brown Bridge altogether. These are all options that are on the
Yeah.
table that we have people that are way more qualified than anybody in this room looking at to figure out if these models work. Because that's why we've been bringing you guys models by professionals because, we can bring all the emotion into this as we want, but until we know exactly what the science says, we're guessing at everything. Councilor Gould has something.
Mr. Mayor, can I make a motion to extend the Bellevue River Fund?
Thank you. All in favor? Carried.
I don't know, I don't wanna kick a dead horse too much, but, we really feel like we gotta get protected at Carina, but this is gonna take decades or however long it's gonna take. And, that's really why I'm here to help protect Carina. I also gotta say, under these options, this doesn't just involve Carina. This involves all the people that flooded in the flats. This involves the people downtown. If you're gonna make a secondary dike, and they're gonna be on the wrong side of that secondary dike. So it affects a lot of people, these options, and really, I appreciate you guys having this meet with us, because it really, it gives us an opportunity to express our concerns, and also, we want some communication, we want some transparency through this process, and, if it doesn't go the way we want it to go, we still wanna know. We want it, it's, you guys got tough decisions here. I know you do. I wouldn't want to be sitting in your chair right now after all this. But the truth is, you signed up for this, so you got to make these decisions. And really, let's be transparent. Let's talk. Let's communicate. And another public meeting. And really, I think a good idea is to advertise it quite a bit so people know about the meeting, and then we can all get there. And and get this thing out. And once you get all these minds together, it's going to be a lot better than just a few of us.
Were you guys all at the engineered public meeting?
I was there.
I was away.
Well, I think why I feel those are so important is because they don't have all the answers. They have a lot of suggestions that they can do, but a lot of, just for example, I have no idea about the viability of a sewer line that goes beside the build. That's the first I've heard about it. And, we'll have our people look at it and everything else, but it's those types of things that are gonna come out of the public from the public, you got your engineers and you got everything else, but you do, at the end of the day, you're gonna have choices. And if you get public input in terms of, here's the options, this is the one we like the most, and this one makes the most sense. It council, at the end of the day, as far as I'm concerned, we, when we go to apply for major funding, federal, provincial funding is gonna require that this is a one-time fix. This is not gonna be, they are not looking at patching this or patching that. They're looking at, let's do this once and not have to look at 5 to 10 million or how many ever million came out of that last one. Let's fix it so it's done right. And I think that is gonna require input from everybody, from the engineers, from council, from the public. I just hope that we're all there with those people and throw this stuff on the table and see what we can come up with.
Can I ask a quick question? How do I find out about these meetings? Cause
So they were in the newspaper, they're on our Facebook page, or on our website, and they were on the bulletin board out in front of us or something.
okay.
Can I just also refer to, like, we have a webpage designed specifically for flooding, for a flood event. It's called Princeton Flood Hub. And please go to that, and because there's all kinds of resources on there. There's minutes from the meetings that we've had, there's mapping, there's mitigation options, you know, so there's historic documents and photos and whatever. It's a really good website. And I think you can contribute to it as well. So please go to the Princeton Flood Hub, it's called, if you search that out.
Well, you know, the guy from True Engineering or whatever was talking there, and what really tweaked me was, he said he did a quick inspection of the dikes around here. He said they're all compromised. You don't have a good dike in this town, he said. He said you can't have marmots living in them. You can't have plants growing on them or trees growing through them, and you definitely can't put them big boxes on top of them. That's what he said at the meeting. So,
I'm not gonna.
So, I mean,
Like
have we had, like, you inspect the dikes, right?
they're dike inspectors said such.
Okay, so you inspect the dikes and you fill out the form and send it into the ministry, right? And right up to the flood, were you doing that job then?
Yes.
And everything was satisfactory. To the ministry, yeah. Pardon me?
To the ministry standard.
To the standards, yeah. So then we have a flood, and then this guy comes along and says the dikes are no good. So,
Yeah, I don't know that. I heard him say it,
yeah, you were there, you heard him say it.
but
The dikes in Princeton are compromised because there's weight on them, there's
that's-
blocks on them, there's trees growing on them, and marmots live in them. Just like the guy from Riverside. He said that the marmots are coming from one side to the other, and that's where the water
I'm
is.
gonna stop you right there for a second. I know that's what is assumed, but the reason the dike failed wasn't because of a marmot hole. It was because of the weight. Do you remember 95 when Old Henry Road collapsed?
Absolutely.
Do you remember why? Because they came through that narrow, right? And then it starts doing this because it's coming through at such a speed. So it creates a vortex, and it pulled the river, at that time, it pulled the road down into the river. So what happened then was, to save the road, they armored the heck out of it, right? Go look at it, it's got all those big boulders on it. So this time, what it did is it did it on the other side. And the rocks didn't come into town. The rocks went into the river because it did the exact same thing, but this time on the other side of the river. And it pulled the dike into the river itself. So that's why the dike failed. It wasn't because of a marmot hole. It was because the force of the river, the amount of water, I forget, Jared, do you remember the number, how fast it was going?
I can't.
It's insane. Like it's in that
940 cubic meters per second.
yeah, 940 cubic meters per second. It just ripped the dike in half. That's what happened there. Like it wasn't leaking through, it was pulled apart. We were standing right there 5 minutes before. So I'm only gonna stop you for that because
That's fine.
that's
fine.
that's what actually happened. That's why it failed. It wasn't because of a marmot hole, it wasn't because of a shrub. It was because of that vortex is created. But again, the Brown Bridge, narrowing the river there and causing that back.
That bottleneck, yeah, absolutely. That needs to be widened somehow, but, do you think, I guess you're the guy who got, do you think our dikes are in good shape right now?
My professional opinion, I would say they are doing their job as originally intended. Then you alluded to this earlier, they were compromised. So what we've done is basically built back, patched back.
The backfill and that?
We did what we needed to do to make them safe again. Of course, they're gonna need, fortification and stuff moving forward. But as the Mr. Mayor has alluded to, it's gonna take a lot of money to do that. Bottom line.
I think it's also important to remember that this was an unprecedented event, and it wasn't just here in Princeton. It wasn't just our Dixon Field. It was province-wide that this event happened. And what we're learning through this whole process and through science is that this is going to happen more and more often, more frequently, and more volume of water is coming. Like I'm talking about over the next 200 years. With climate change, we're learning that things are changing. And so I don't think we need to look too far back. I think we need to be looking forward. What we're going to do to prepare for the future.
Absolutely,
So
absolutely,
And
absolutely. And that, there we are back again. So what are we gonna do to protect the arena when these storms are getting worse and more often?
yeah. And
So-
so
this council isn't kicking the can down the road, right? We're committed to finding a solution. That's why we're doing the public, the engineers. That's why we're doing what we're doing, is because we want to make sure that our grandkids aren't the ones who are gonna deal with this. So hopefully we can set in motion in the next couple of years, the plan to protect us long-term. Because you were here in 95. You were here in the
71.
right? Like, we've had these over and over and over again, and what have we done? Made the river wider and faster, right? Or narrowed it by putting in big dikes. Like, we've never stopped and said, what is causing the problem? And that's what we're trying to do. We've asked you guys for input. That's why we had the public meeting. We appreciate the input. We appreciate any further input you have, so that the engineers can take that into effect, so that we can try to come up with the best plan, not for us, but for the community as a whole. Because if we just let's be honest, if we just let engineers do what engineers do, it's gonna be this over-engineered project that's gonna be, well, honestly, we wouldn't have a town left if we did exactly what they want us to do. Total no way. So
I just have one question to ask you. Why don't you get in the river and take the sandbars out and the debris out?
Good.
I'll let staff explain that.
And that would, I've been here for 50 years and I live on the river on Lachine. And that is what's doing most of our damage, is the sandbars and the debris that's in the river.
One, we're not allowed.
Pardon?
For one, we're not allowed.
I know the fishery. I listened to all it. The fish will go downstream and come back up. This is what I'm trying to explain.
Yeah, they will not give us permits to operate.
Well, like one of the speakers said, I think it was Roy Harper said at the meeting, that you don't have to go in the river anymore. You got a 75-foot reach on them, and you could just
We cannot,
stay on the sides.
we can't even work on a bridge without permits. We're not even touching the river, we're above the river. We have to get permits. We're working on a little bridge right now down by your place, the little walking bridge. We have to replace it. Jim's been working on permits for that for how many months, Jim?
So it's called a section 11, and the best we could do is about 45 days. That's the emergency repair turnaround time.
So
And that just basically gives us limited access. It takes about a few months to get a section 11 fully approved.
they just keep doing anything in what they call a riparian area is pretty much out of the question these days.
But wouldn't that solve the problem?
No.
they did model that.
So if you think about this for a second, okay? If you read the requirements, if we keep everything as is right now, we have to put another 4 meters, which is 12 feet on top of our dikes. So we would have to dig the river down 12 meters, well, 12 feet, 4 meters, to meet the requirements that the dike would do. And then as soon as we get high water, whether it's a flood or not, when we get a high water, it all comes back down and fills up. And where are we gonna stop dredging? Because we can only dredge to the edge of our boundary, which is just down the road. And then it acts as a dam and it builds up and builds up and builds up. That's why dredging is no longer an option by the province.
If you go ahead and contravene their rules and regulations, what chance are you gonna get? What chance are we gonna get to be able to acquire funding when our proposal is going against their rules and regulations kind of thing? Dredging seemed like a great idea to me, but when you listen to those people, from too many perspectives, it didn't make sense. But the bottom line, as far as I'm concerned, is that you contravene what the provincial regulation, what chance do you have to get the funding in order to do the job?
Yeah, I understand that process. I do. It's just, we just gotta try to find something, some option. And so we need to have another meeting, so maybe someone will come up with a better option or another option or something that we can integrate into some of the options that you've already started to look at, because this option of four option of relocating us, I mean, to me, that's not an option. That really isn't. That, and like I said, if this is where this town goes and this is where they want to go and this is the option that they chose, then, we go along with it. That's what we do. We're citizens of this town. We're part of this town. Right now, we don't feel like that because we recommended to protect our houses and it wasn't done. A lot of us, like ourselves, flooded $50,000. So once again, I must say, protect Carina Avenue. If we're going to take a while to make these decisions, which it looks like it's going to take a hell of a long time. In the meantime, just protect us, just protect our interests, all of our life savings and our equities in our buildings. We all worked at this town for years and years. So, really, we're part of this town. But we're not tight like the rest of the town.
So somebody had a question at the public hearing, why did we allow you guys to rebuild your houses back? So if you paid attention to what happened in Grand Forks, what happens right after the flood is they come in, BCSS comes in, right? What do? Your property done? They bring it down to zero, right? Just whatever the value of the land, bare land is what you get taxed at. So as soon as you rebuild your house, so in the Grand Forks, what they did is that's what they bought you out. Was zero. So you got I think it's 80% or whatever the number was. You got 0% of, or 80% of almost zero. There's people living in cars still in there because they can't get a house.
Yeah.
So
and the same thing they're doing in Merritt right now. They're buying out the property owners right
they're
now.
trying. There's no funding. They don't.
Well,
This is the fight over there. I talk to them regularly. They have no money to buy it because there's no ministry that buys out houses. There's no department in the government that buys land. So this is the problem. So they did a one-time thing in Grand Forks and they bought those people out at the flood level because they didn't let them rebuild. So you guys are able to rebuild. If that is what the case is, and somebody has to come in and buy your house out, they're gonna have to buy it at the assessed value, not at the flood assessed value, which was zero. Right? So we allowed you, and we did that too, so that you could have somewhere to live, because we knew this wasn't gonna happen. Right? Otherwise, we'd have 300 properties. Everybody would have to leave town.
yeah, there's a lot of properties involved. There is a
300.
lot. This is huge. It's not just Carina. I'm representing Carina, but this is huge.
We evacuated 300 properties.
Yeah.
So there would have been 300 properties that would have had to leave town. That's 300 families plus, because two of them were apart. They would have had to have left town if we said, no, nobody's really allowed to rebuild.
Well, there was more apartment buildings.
3, sorry.
Well,
Plus that one.
4.
4.
Well, I don't know where else to go with this right now. Just, I think I've made pretty much all the points I want to make.
Yeah.
And, I just want to say, this is a process. I get this. And I understand this is just probably for me, it's just the beginning of this process. And I'd like to be a part of it through the whole thing, like through more meetings with you guys and the engineers and stuff. And just to stay transparent with us and communicate so that we know where we're at in this process. This is huge for us.
So that's why we've had the meetings. When we got presented, so we had the meeting, and it was in the fall with of the owners, and then I think it was in the fall.
Yeah, late summer.
So that, we got presented that information only a few days before you guys got it. They came into town, we went and met with Weyerhaeuser, Copper Mountain Mine, they met with the businesses, and then they came and met with you guys. And they took all that and they went back and they created the options. We got presented the options, and then they brought them to you guys. So you guys know everything that we know. So transparency, you guys know absolutely every piece of information we have, the public has.
And everything is on that flood hub.
Yeah.
My point, Bill, would be don't leave the table, ever, until this gets settled. This needs to be a decision that comes from everybody.
Yeah.
This is not fair to have this come down to 5 people on council making this decision. This needs to come from engineers, it needs to come from the public. Everybody needs to be involved. Don't leave the table. Keep coming back until we together figure out a way to get out of this, because we're sitting there struggling, we're looking for answers.
Yeah, and I appreciate that you guys are accepting questions from the audience. I do, I really do. Sometimes in this meeting, you have to be the only one that speaks, and there's regulations. And I appreciate you're receptive to this idea, and to be, like I say, transparent, communicate. This is what we want. We need to know where we're going with this, because, like I say, one important thing is the value of our property. And the way we feel, a lot of us feel on Carina anyways, and even on Allison Flats is, protect us, make sure we're protected. If our house is protected, I wouldn't feel bad about selling my house. But where it is right now, unprotected, and we flooded once, I wouldn't even sell it to somebody thinking that this option might be viable, that you guys might do this option. So that we as a group might come to the consensus to do that option. I understand it's about the town. It's not just about a few community members on Carina, but we're all taxpayers.
It's about all of us.
And we're in this too with you. We feel separate because we haven't been protected, and that no one was saying nothing to us in Carina. And then this thing comes out up at that meeting, and we're the ones affected.
Just for clarification, Bill, because I'm going to be presenting this to our engineers as well. When you say protect Carina, what does it look like in your mind? What is that?
Well, it looks like a dike. It looks like you move the works yard back against the hill and protect the road that goes along there.
Yeah.
So you access all of them acres there, and then you put a dike on our side. And it doesn't have to be a great big 12-foot dike. It's just something to protect
Yeah,
us.
well, it has to be.
It came like 4 feet over the river top.
Yeah.
It flooded. That's not a heck of a big dike.
So,
If we went 6 feet high, whatever.
yeah, so I just want to be clear on what it is you think it would look like in your backyard.
Well, it'd be a dike in my backyard, yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, it's a compromise that we're willing to take and protect our investment. Once it's protected, I wouldn't feel bad about selling it, But right now, there's no way I'm selling it to somebody that's gonna get, the short end of the stick if this decision comes down. Which, really, I know it's a tough decision, people. This is, we're all citizens here, and we're all in this together. But, let's stay in it together. Let's communicate and, I know it's a long process, but in the meantime, I'm wondering, what about Carina, the only place in town that isn't protected? So, I just wish you guys would take a look at that,
Get them the model.
Yeah, and see how much acreage there is, where the maintenance yard is, and clean up that contaminated mess over there, and the rest of them trailers and junk that's over there.
Trying to get
So I'm gonna get a little bit of information about or when they build a dike. So I know everyone would be thinking, can we just add a little bit for protection right now? Unfortunately, they will not fund anything that's under the 200-year floodplain. So the only way we would get funding to create something, it would be a monstrosity, like a full scale. So, and which you're looking at millions, right? So,
Oh, absolutely.
yeah, for sure. But I just want to put
It was,
because people are looking for what can we do right now. There's nothing. Anything that we do under the 200-year would be called temporary works, and we only have a little bit of time to rip it out. It's a very serious process.
yeah, and there's other dikes. There's new engineered manufactured dikes now, different dikes.
Oh yeah, there's many options.
Yeah, so there's, that's all I'm saying is there's other options than putting a great big rock dike there, and just a little bit of feeling of security, on our neighborhood there. You know, like I say, it's recommendation was to Dicus, and you didn't. Someone made that decision, that's fine. This is where we're at today. I'm not looking back 160 years where we shouldn't have built. 12 years ago, I built my house on the floodplain and I'm not protected. And none of us are, Karina now. So, you know, that's just food for thought for you guys. Like, you know, we're the only community in town that's not protected right now. So someone ignored that recommendation. It didn't get done. You didn't get the funding, whatever happened. But here we are today, you know, 5 years later, and I'm bringing up that recommendation again, that we need to get protected. So I guess I thank you for your time. I really do. And for your interaction. This has been great. It is. This is what we need. We need some sort of reassurance that you guys are forthcoming and transparent, and that's what we need. And like I say, you guys are in for a tough decisions here. And, you know,
We are,
yeah,
all of us.
yeah, that's right. That's right. But I mean, ultimately, who makes the decision? Ultimately, the final decision. You people are responsible for that and accountable for that. And so, you know, if you guys make a decision that we don't like, too bad for us. You know what I mean? It is. But we'll accept that as long as this is transparent and done, you know, throughout the process. So I guess I'm just concluding by saying once again, thanks everybody for coming here and showing up and talking. You know, this is a real big concern, not just for Karina, but for the whole town. And it's big. This is big. So, well, good luck. And see you at the next meeting.
Thanks, Bill. Thanks very much.
Good luck, because I know.
Good luck, don't screw it up, eh? Thanks, everybody, and thank you for coming. We're gonna move into staff reports. We are changing this up a little bit, so. CAO, you're gonna go first?
Yeah, so, you know, we've initiated this, quarterly reporting. So I want to submit my report first, just so that, council understands, what I've done is we're trying to change it up a little bit to be a little bit more interactive. I've asked my staff to list the things that they've been working on and then, maybe circle back and pick out a couple of things that we can discuss. Maybe I'll just take a moment. Stay on top of what the next step is. So I've listed, you know, a few things that we've been working on, that I've been working on, but I just wanted to circle back onto, BC Transit. I know that, you know, we've been working really hard on transitioning the, BC Transit from a town of Princeton, managed service to a regional service. That's underway. The RDOS is picking up the ball there and, they're making preparations. This year, it'll be fully transitioned over to the RDOS. And council's focus has been on enhancing the in-town service. So we made application through BC Transit for funding to fund that program. Unfortunately, we were not successful. This year, it wasn't because they didn't like the program or our ideas or our plan. It was simply that they just couldn't do it this year because they just didn't have enough buses or whatever. But it's on the radar. It's looking good, maybe possibly for next year. So I'm happy to report that. The Recreation and Parks Master Plan, that's an important process we're going to go through. There's more details that are going to come out in Nadine's report, but I just wanted council to know that we've initiated, we've engaged the consultant, and there'll be lots of opportunities for people to be engaged in that, to have input on it. There'll be a session just specifically for council, so that's coming up shortly, I think in May. The Arena Solar project is underway. Not the project. The RFP was developed. The RFP has been put out. We've got lots of interest in it, so I'm really excited that we're actually going to get I think a very good product and at a very competitive price. So I'm excited. And I just want to highlight that this is part of that green initiative grant program that we got from the federal government, and so it is 80% funded. It'll close here shortly.
How much will that supply to the, will it run the whole place? Or?
No, it's just gonna help offset some of our costs. We wanted to do a bigger project. We actually want to do like 100-watt solar project, but Fortis, working with Fortis, we have to work closely with Fortis because they're the ones that are going to be tied into. They have a program for 1,000-watt system, which is way bigger than we could ever do, and they have a program for a 50-watt system, so where they will accept any excess. And so we had to tailor our project down to the 50-watt water thing. So that'll offset our bills. What it'll do.
My friend, that is.
Yeah, that's like.
Do you have any ballpark what that saving would be?
No, I'm not 100% sure. That's going to be part of the report. The final report is the Fortis and our contract that we select will actually work those numbers out. And like I said, it's like if our bill was here, we put in the system. Now the bill will probably be down here. So it's definitely a savings. And at 80% dollars, 80 cent dollars.
The way I understood it was they do never want you producing more power than what you use. I'm wondering about in the summer.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be using a lot of power, would we?
We wouldn't, but we'd be contributing, and actually they will accept that. Part of the 50 kilowatt program is that they will accept any overages and give us a reduction on our overall bill. In the wintertime, when we have snow on the ground, it's colder. That's when we need the power more. We're not going to be producing as much power through the solar system because it could be snow covered or whatever. But it'll still, over the course of the year, our bills will be less.
Right.
That's through the residential program. They won't give us that.
Oh, okay.
You hear that, Fortis?
So I'm open to any questions with anything else, but those are the items that I wanted to kind of.
I got a quick one about the transit. You confident that we'll get funding next year?
Well, I mean, I'm highly optimistic. I can't say I'm confident. We've been trying this I think this council has tried it for the last 4 years. We haven't been successful, but we're much closer. And the people that I work with in BC Transit, the upper management they're very optimistic.
Okay, so I'll mention it as an investor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know how important in the realm of recruiting for Posse that the advent of a electric Olympia is. Do you have any idea when it's finally going to get in?
Pete knows more than I do. He's in direct communication with the manufacturer, but it sounds like May. May is when we should be receiving it. So we should have it for the start of the next week.
And the parade.
Yeah, right.
Anybody else? Thank you. Thanks, CEO. The next one is building. Lee and Alan. Alan's okay, Alan. Hey, I don't see you much anymore.
Yeah, so basically I just reported on what's going on in the building department for the last bit. We had an interesting winter with our new building. We had a couple of failures, like the heating system failed and we froze some pipes up, but fortunately there was no pipes bursting and we were able to take care of that damage, and the heating system, we managed to bring it back to life enough for emergency heat for the rest of the winter. We felt that when it was cold outside, of course, the inside of the building wasn't able to quite maintain what it needed to do. But we're past that now, and we're engaged with Fortis for an assessment of the building, like an energy assessment. We're going to see what we can do to put a heating system in that's going to be better for us and hopefully more efficient. Right? So we're burdened with that a little bit. Another thing that happened, we ended up with an unexpected roof leak. We ended up losing a couple of ceiling tiles, but we managed to collect all the water in some of the bins that we moved over there with. And really very limited damage as well. So the roofing company that Fortis had hired to put a roof on was able to come back. The roof was still under warranty, so it's been repaired. So the roof is in good shape. We don't have to do any improvements to the roof. Otherwise, the building's working great. We still have a few little things to tidy up from the renovation, but it's certainly functional now. The admin office, we're getting into shape where we have the ability to issue and collect money for permits. We're just there right now, but our challenge is still connected to the front desk here, the phone line. So when it rings here, it rings down there as well. So we're looking to get a dedicated phone line. Working on getting that done as well. So any questions about that part? No? All right. Chris has actually received his level 1 building official, so we're pretty excited about that. I remember when I first was hired here, Lyle and I had a conversation about what he was looking for and what I was looking for. So it's been my goal. Everywhere I go, I like to leave the place in a better condition than when I found it. So what my goal was is to create a building department for the town of Princeton that was in place and functioning, and when I leave, that it would still continue. And it's where that's the first step. Now Chris is going to be taking over for me, right? So the first step is underway, and I'm trying to navigate what that looks like for me. I think in the immediate future, I'll be staying on full time for a while, but my goal is to actually sort of step back as he increases his levels. So I think we're well on the way there. Projects of note. I just made a little list of, not all of them, but some of the major projects that are coming up right now. We have applications in for all these ones. Just on that count there's 221 new dwellings or living units that's in those applications. That doesn't include the BC housing ones that are coming up as well. So in the next couple of years, there's going to be probably 300 or so new dwelling units in Princeton. So that's a big change. Yeah. And then I just did an update on the finalizing the flood files. There's a list there. I see there's a duplication about 3/4 of the way down the page. So for some reason it was on twice, so we have to change it to 35 for 2023. And we've closed 15 files since January to now. Permits cycle through. So when the applications come in at the beginning, you have a 2-year period before the permit expires. We did all these permits for free for the flood event. And we've actually extended that. We changed it back for a while, so new applications were coming in, and that still stands. If somebody comes today and buys a investment property, let's say, and applies for a permit to fix one of the buildings up, there's a cost to that now. The free period is over, but the existing people that had the files at the beginning for free, we've extended the renewals at no cost as well. So I'm not sure exactly what the total is. Maybe by the mid-month or the meeting after this one, the second one, we'll have more information and maybe we'll do a complete total from the beginning to the end to find out exactly where we are. But we're definitely making some progress in finishing off those flood files. And if you remember, like Spencer, you were saying about people having a place to live, that's the way we approached it at the beginning. It's still within a floodplain, of course, so it's not like anything new would apply, like a new permit if you're building something from scratch. You'd have to meet the floodplain requirements, so the elevation of your first floor and all the rest of the requirements that are in this zoning bylaw for flood regulation. But for the short term, we did treat these as heritage houses in the sense that they're old. But it was just a matter of getting people back into their places. I think it's been pretty successful. So that's where we're at with that. That's kind of just a nutshell of where we're at in the building department.
It says on there that the band shell getting permit this week.
Yeah, the bench shells ready to go. It's been a little bit of a struggle there getting everything in place to get started, but it's I think the materials are on site. I know I was talking to Jim a little bit about that. Gary and I have been in contact, but it took a while to put that all together. We ran into a few
Oh,
things.
May long weekend, guys. 2025.
You know what? I'm giving up saying dates.
I know somebody asked me the other day, and I'm like, when it gets done. Randy was first, then Todd.
Alan, I'm curious about the number of people that are finishing up. Mentioned that they would still be considered if they had a flood repair business, and now they're coming back to finish up. Is there a great number of those, or?
I think most of the places that, like the owners that are in those places, they work pretty hard at, getting into a condition where they can move back in and live there. They're, those are the ones, the bulk of the ones that we're finishing off now because we're at the third year of the cycle, right? So they might not be completely done, whether it's financial or whether there's other factors, but it's been a big shock, to be out of your house and have to work to getting it back in. Some of the people have done it just on their own with very limited funding. So it's taken up longer than probably anybody anticipated for them to be finished. So sometimes I think it's financial, why it's not quite done at the end, but they're working through it, and over time they're closing it off. The people like the off-site landlords or that have those places, they were probably the slowest starters to get back in. Now then, when they got into warmer weather, once the winter was over, a lot of them showed up to do that. Some of them were sold as is. New people have come in, new investors have come in and built those places up. But yeah, it's sort of a mixture. So is that what you're asking, or?
I was just curious. I understand what you're saying, that no, not everybody has. I mean, when we were in there finishing my rental, you just got it all done. You just get it all done. But if you couldn't afford to get it all done, you're gonna do what you can and then just keep at it. Last question was, where does Chris live?
He lives in OK Falls, actually. He's a commuter.
Do you see that as a problem or no?
We actually, during the interview, we asked lots of similar questions to what his commitment was, to the community, and we were actually really interested in having him as a solution, for moving forward with the thing. He's totally on board with that right now. I know his wife works near OK Falls as well. I can't remember which community it was, but yeah, I think I don't see it being an issue. I know for myself, I commute from Merritt. It's an hour drive. He's similar to where he lives. There might be, I don't know what their arrangements are in the future. They might move closer, or he might end up having a place that he can stay while he's here, work for the work week. And that's what I've been doing. I usually commute twice a week, so I'm overnight twice a week as well.
I think it's all a question of finding qualified people.
Well,
That's the challenge.
we were talking about this the other day about you guys, not me and somebody else, we were talking about how you guys live out of town and actually how it's almost a benefit because you can go home at the end of the day and nobody's gonna come and harass you because they're mad about their building permit.
Yeah.
It's like, well, that must be nice, right? Like you get to leave. Nobody can yell at you when you're at the grocery store. Because they don't know that you're their building inspector.
Interesting comment, yeah, for sure. I think that, I know that I've been doing it for a long time and I handle it a bit differently. I don't usually normal hire. I usually will say, yeah, come and see me on Monday or whatever it is if somebody has building questions, but there's that little anonymity, right?
Because I've talked to some other building inspectors, and that's
Yeah.
like in other communities, and that's their thing is like they just, there's no privacy, so. Tyler, yeah.
Will the apartment by Brown Bridge, is it gonna be fully back livable? Yeah, just seems like it's been a long process.
I actually was talking to
Pretty-
I was actually talking to the architect last week. And it's probably gonna be ready to go about June, I think. June or July, straight in that area.
Anybody else? Thanks, Alan.
Okay.
Thanks for this long list of stuff you guys are working on. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a good read.
It is. I was very impressed. Jared, you're on next. You're not-
Thank you. So yeah, our crew's been pretty busy. Springtime, we get to all the leaks that we're kind of on the schedule from fall and stuff like that. There's a few new builds that we're putting services into. They're keeping super busy. The maintenance of the stations is perfect right now. We're doing a very good job keeping up on that. Yeah, the crew's just keeping really busy. We're gonna be starting hydrant maintenance pretty quick. They've started sewer flushing already, done the majority of the downtown, and we'll kind of start the loop back up to the top again. I have a million projects. I don't know if you want me to go through them or if you guys have any that you're interested about, just go ahead and ask some questions.
What was the issue beside the drugstore there?
That was just a water service leak.
You see how he shut off his phone through his pocket?
You can't do it like.
We have these buttons. Buttons.
That'll be a half a day lesson.
It's gonna stick to the one we've taught you already.
Jared, just quickly, just so it's on public record and recorded, where are we at with the wells down in Memorial? I know we're getting pretty good then.
Yeah, Memorial Park's looking really good. Everything is in the ground. The building is constructed. They're working on electrical inside. Most of the plumbing and everything is getting worked on at the moment too. Once that's complete, really they're just gonna be worrying about tie-ins. They laid all the pipe underground just to the areas where the tie-ins are, so they'll be going back and then digging that up and doing the tie-ins. And then it can be ready for commissioning after some sampling and stuff like that. But we were worried in the beginning about a lot of electrical components taking a long time to come in, but it turns out they're coming in way earlier than expected. So, we have the September, October time of commissioning. The way things are going, we could potentially see it sooner.
And I read the SCADA is all done.
Yeah, the SCADA system, all the radios have been upgraded. Yeah, so
Lightning proof.
yeah, well, better than before. Still, it's a tricky process to try to protect from the lightning. So I mean, lightning arresters are the way to go. We have those in place.
Then you told me yesterday that we have a update on our airport lighting, some of it's in now.
Yes, the airport lighting is going along really well. They've been in town doing some work. They got all the runway edge lighting in. It's all functional. This is a solar powered system. They're just awaiting the floodlights for the tarmac and the happy light system for the both ends. That should be coming in. I think they're going to be in about 5 more times and then the project will be complete. As it stands right now, because it's solar, the system does work. It is operational. We're not going to put it on at this time. It's just with the solar arrangement like that, it's usable right away for you.
When we originally we were looking at airport lighting. It was stalled because they were asking for up on the hills. Remember that? That there had to be, we couldn't do the airport lighting unless there was, and I want that blinking light up in the, towards Tyler's there. Is it anything to do with that or?
Not to do with our project. We have, the engineers are still looking into that aspect of it, but there doesn't seem to be too many issues with that at this time.
That other thing now, Canon changed they're changing over all those old lights to the new, LED. It's amazing. I saw a helicopter, they got, their light on the front of their helicopters is LED now. Holy smokes, just blind you. I was flying in daytime with that thing on, it was like, holy.
It must be the same one as the trains. Have you ever came
Yeah.
across the path of a train when you're driving a car? Somebody put the train is shining on these, like, whoa.
Just, I see item 10, Lord Curd Way upgrade. Do you have a new estimate?
Which line item is that? So,
10?
this is the same estimate from the last report.
Okay. So rejigging and paving.
So I did ask Lyle, do we have to realign the road or just pave it as is? Like, is it that much of a hassle to keep it the way it is?
I don't know.
It's not that bad.
I don't really think so. Like it probably can. There might be just a few little edges that can be kind of carved out, but I think the original concern back in the day was when they were hauling those, what do they call it?
The windmill.
The windmill turbines.
Blades?
Yeah, the wind turbines.
We find that out.
Yeah,
If
for sure.
we don't, like, the road's already there, not just.
Did it again.
It's in the water.
Don't tell
We find
Don't
out.
tell me
Yeah,
the first.
most definitely.
I mean, if it's a little, if there's a little bit of corners in there, it'll slow it down and we don't have to rip it through there too fast, especially if we decide to do something.
Just do we have a location? I heard, playground area, Memorial Park. Is that, are we talking down by the, pool?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And if nobody else has a question, I'll pass it over to Jeff. Sure.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Interesting morning so far. Lots of activity. So reporting on Public Works for our first round session here. And kind of a snapshot into the work that we've done in the past year. So business as usual. So at this time of year, Public Works is busy with the spring cleanup, cleaning sidewalks. We had a kind of early start with the sweeping, so we've already started our round 2 for the street sweeper going out. We have some catch basin work and for the sidewalk cleaning slated for this week and next week. I found myself working up at the 12-kilometer mark of the mine access road this year. Basically, it was a project that we started in the wintertime. The mine had some concerns about two 64-inch culverts located at the 12-kilometer mark there. There was a lot of environmental activity that had to take place before we got in there and started doing any work. This is what I kind of alluded to earlier about the Section 11. We made 2 emergency applications to the ministry for Section 11. And we actually got them in less than 45 days, so better in our contractors count, Watson Engineering. They pulled some strings for us. Normally it could take up 3 months. So the mine was pretty particular about working window. They wanted us to work in the specific time frame that they had basically dictated to us. And we got the 2 pipes cleaned out. Good order, flowing nicely. Have to revisit this project in the future. These 2 large pipes are in a state of decline, and we'll have to figure out how we're going to approach it in the future. Interesting that, I was part of the process right from the beginning to the end, and I was working with the biologists and some mine staff to the process. And, it was interesting that the mine staff, their biologists and environmentalists, not part of this process called the fish porting. And, so when we filed for this section 11, I kind of went through the ministry's list of fish that were endangered on a federal and provincial level. And they're basically said there's like 2 or 3 different fish in there. Unbeknownst to us, there's 5 different fish there and two versions of trout that were in there. So part of the process is you put out fish nets and you actually stun the fish. And we even at the end of the winter thaw, the spring thaw, I should say, we captured 69 fish in there. So they were measured, ported over the river, released on the other side. The number of females bearing eggs measured at 100 meters long. So we had no idea that any of this was going to be in there. So it was an interesting study. It was how they shocked the fish and they all floated to the top.
Do you have a copy of that study that you get full?
Yeah, we're actually we're waiting for the report from the biologist to move forward and put on our sort of our record. Because this is going to be an ongoing sort of maintenance thing with the mine and the town moving forward. So it was interesting to see that they had students down there. It was quite the to-do. So some other interesting things of note that pipe work that was there. Look at the date stamps and some of the culverts, and there's 1982. So when exactly they put that road through, it's interesting to see that there's a bit of a date history there. All the interested parties that expressed interest in the Brown Bridge now tendered their quotes. There'll be a staff report to follow up with that. So we have preliminarily selected a contractor. And they've expressed to us that there'll be no delay in supplying any of the wood. We're sort of in a position they'd like to start as soon as possible to kind of meet with our rush for the holiday and tourist seasons. I still think that we're not in a position to do any activity until after the September Labor Day long weekend. Watson Engineering have completed the studies and professional reporting on the Tulameen Wall. Provincial grant has been awarded for the repairs, which is good news for the town of Princeton. The Watson Engineering also preparing the professional report so we can go to market to get tendered submission. So that's what we'll follow up. One kind of a different start to our parks this year is Public Works. So we'll be starting overseeding and aerating of all the parks except for Memorial Parks. And this work is going to promote greener grass this year, and we hope to reduce some of the irrigation watering that we've been doing in past years. So with a good rich green grass. So we'll see how that goes. And a quick update on the Public Works building. This is the new building that Ledcor is doing for the town of Princeton. Because of the mild winter, we are at 75% completion point. We're just finished up all the major structure. Crews are working on the interior works, the utilities, the electrical, plumbing, the walls, all that kind of stuff are well on their way. And so that's good news. Item 7, the little Asp Street walking bridge is now complete. It's ready to deliver and install. We're just waiting for the contractor to come up with some more outstanding paperwork so the building department can issue a permit for its installation. just a quick snapshot into history. So I was kind of preparing, when I was preparing the staff report, I kind of looked at what we were doing this time last year. And a couple of interesting things of note. Barry Architect Services, that was the architect that retained to do the original design for the Public Works building, was at a 90% completion at the same time last year. We had not broken ground for the Public Works department yet. So at this time last year, we were still at the 90% design stage. So kudos to Ledco for getting us jump started this far in time here. And another thing, we were at that time, we were throwing around the ideas of replacing the 43 street lamps. That project has since been completed. So at that time, we were collaborating, or myself was collaborating with economic development and putting a timeline together for the delivery and placement of the street lamps, which is now done. We've had some positive feedback. A few little issues that I think we can address as time moves on. But the hanging baskets, we're hoping to receive those here in the next couple of months. Get those in place. They are self-watering baskets, so interesting how that goes. Other than that, I think that's about it. Any questions? Anyone? Councillor Google.
2 questions. One is on that, the 12-kilometer marker. So that cost, do you have an estimate of how much that was?
I don't have a total replacement cost at this point. We're still, kind of looking at the bigger picture, see what, how our approach is. Jared alluded to this earlier. All our new works have to meet a 200-year standard. This is also applicable to the mine and the mine surroundings.
I'm just wondering if there's a need for it to go into this year's budget or just to bring it forward and line it.
There is no immediate sense of urgency. The mine folks have some different ideas. I think the town prince is a fairly controlled position on this one. We are still going through the study process to see what our next steps are going to be, how that's going to look, what kind of time frame we have, what kind of budget we should be. Obviously, this will be a pretty sizable.
You did mention that it was going to be ongoing maintenance.
Definitely ongoing maintenance, stitching. We can only do cleaning when able. Again, we have such a narrow margin of opportunity to get in there and do any cleaning. This is where the mine is very dictatorial, but we can actually get in there. They have their own processes in place. And again, with the ministry, the Indian bands, they have vested interest in what we're doing now. So it's so far so good. It was a very positive experience. We had sort of no pushback from any of the controlling bodies. I'd just be happy with what we did. The ministry was extremely happy with what we did. And I believe the Indian bands were also happy with our approach.
Thank you. So second question is, when we're going to paint the crosswalks?
So I guess the crosswalks are all in sort of our standard schedule. There's been little to no price increase, which is very encouraging. So our estimates for line painting and crosswalk painting pretty much carry over from last year. So that will be good. As soon as the weather starts to improve, they require a minimum 70 degrees. So probably looking at late spring.
Perfect. And straight.
And straight this time, yes, absolutely.
Mr. Daly, the banners look fabulous. They absolutely look fabulous. But I'm just curious, is there a plan to replace the hockey banners now that the season is over?
Well, I think that's a question we direct towards economic development. I believe Gary Schatz has got some ideas for those seasonal banners. As soon as he has something locked and loaded for us, we're more than willing to change them out.
It'll be visual. 3 banners down in front of Auto Tire. One's over there.
Okay.
You fix that, and then somebody hit the one at the post office.
I seen the one at the post office.
Oh, they hit.
I just don't know how they're doing it.
I want to change literally.
Must be a camper.
Now it's on the other side.
Ocean truck.
I'm good at that.
Okay, my question is, do we have any pull with AIM? My point is, I'm loath to go ahead and spray down my building for dust and everything else when there's a line of gravel all the way down Highway 3 right in front of all the buildings on the side of the road.
Well, it's a little disappointing with AIM. I've reached out to Richard, who's my immediate go-to guy, to get some bonding in place there. I guess there's a considerable amount of dysfunction within the organization right now, so there's nobody saying the specific dates because as Councilor Gould was asking about the painting of the sidewalks or the lines and stuff like that. This all kind of pairs with AIM contracting also. There's no sense in us doing our stuff and then they haven't done their work. And that their materials poured over into our sort of territory, which will spoil our stuff like that. So, anyways, yeah, there is no schedule at this point. I did see that there was some ditching going on in front of your shop there. I don't know. It actually looked like it made a bigger mess than was any benefit. It looks like the plugs or the pipes are completely plugged now, so there's cooling water there. So,
Just good enough for swimming or fishing.
no, absolutely. So
I am going to, right as we're speaking, Ames, Modi's coming to regional district on the meeting the 18th. I'm going to send them a messenger now asking them for information on timeline for sweeping and pursuing.
Don't want us to ask that.
and they're patching at the responsibility of the Highway 5 and Bridge Street intersection there.
That is horrible. We'll add that to this because I feel like a big dodge around.
Yeah, it's absolutely, it's crazy.
You gotta go around it, or you just kind of get your one tire over. Well, I'm sorry. Anybody? I think we're good. Thanks, Jim.
Thanks.
Next up, we're gonna skip economic development. Sorry, I did that. We're gonna go to finance, then Gary can re-wake us up.
Mine's a lot less exciting. Finance, yeah.
You give us the Coles notes, you know.
That's right.
We have no money.
That's right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, a quick synopsis on sort of, some of the things we've gone through in quarter one. So we have, completed our public consultation process, for the budget. We advertised in the newspaper, twice, which, covers our statutory needs for a public notice. And we had, 2 budget meetings, one on the 14th and one on the 16th for the library. 5 people attended, got answers to questions and left some comments, which was put in our last report. Did not do a budget video this year. Last year's was 2 hours, 36 minutes, and I think we got about 200 views, but just it's a fair bit of work and a fair bit of comments. So it fell for all the wrong reasons, Mr. Mayor. But yes, no. We just went with the in-person meetings and any questions. There was no major input on the budget, but as per the report last council meeting, there were some public comments. We went to third reading on our tax rates bylaw and our financial plan with aim to pass on the regular meeting on the 17th. Variance analysis, we usually do that and report back to council probably in May on any budgets. Usually our variance analysis in the first quarter is pretty rudimentary. Most budgets cover the whole year, so overages wouldn't happen at this time of year. It just doesn't make any sense. Audit, we have completed our year-end processes in January. We had the auditors here to perform field work between March 6th and 8th. We're ongoing right now with the auditors trying to get finalized financial reports. We had a pretty major financial change this year with relation to something called asset retirement obligations. Essentially, we've always had to report on how much it would cost to close our landfill based on its capacity every year, and they have expanded that program to include any necessary asset retirement obligations. For example, the building we're sitting in. If we should have to demolish it and return it back to land, how much would that cost in the process? And how do we discount that for the number of years we have left as a reliable building for the town? So those are quite complicated financial questions that we're working through right now. So we will still have our financial statements by May 15th. However, the auditor has suggested doubt over whether we're able to present them on the 17th, which will require a special meeting. So I will ask Brooke and the mayor for a special meeting so the auditors can present their findings. We had that grant and aid program has been administered. We're just waiting on swim club, and we will issue that check in due course. We received the revised roll on the 26th of March for Word. We're still waiting for numbers from the Ministry of Finance for school tax and police tax. We're still waiting for the rates from the Municipal Finance Authority. Those are usually very minor and they don't change from year to year, but we still have to wait to confirm them. But we have our numbers from the regional district through their budgeting process for their requisition, and we also have the municipal numbers that were presented with the bylaw. Utility billing, we printed off about half of them yesterday. Unfortunately, we had a problem with the toner and the printer, so the new one should be arriving today, so we can finish off the back half of printing the utility bills, and they should go in the mail either late this week or early next week, depending on staffing levels to be able to stuff envelopes. External filings, T4s were issued to employees on February 8th. Our employee health tax annual reconciliation was submitted in late March. It needs to be in by April 2nd as per statute. School tax filings for January and February are complete. We don't have any major filings until July. We do have to provide numbers to the Ministry of Finance for the property tax deferral program, which we won't be able to do until we actually get our final tax billings for the year. But that kind of stuff all comes sort of in late April. And then we do our regular AR, AP, and payroll processes. So, yeah, busy time of year in finance. It always is in the first 6 months of the year. Back half is a lot more planning and strategic budget creating and things like that. But we're keeping busy. We have a couple of projects that we will probably tackle this year with the passing of the financial plan. We're looking at updating our administrative program. Our administrative program is in place since 1999. And we have a good leading candidate that will present to council when we're ready to go with it. Yeah, just training opportunities and things like that we're doing right now. Trying to get everyone up to pace on roles and responsibilities. So that's my Q1 finance report. If anyone has any questions, I'm happy to help.
If we decided to do something about what people were putting in front of us about environmental concerns of what's left of the Old Town shop, if we considered it, would that come out of flood mitigation funding, or?
That would probably be the logical place. The Treasury Board submission is largely spoken for at this point, especially with the Well 4 project coming on board. If there's any funding left over, we can look at it. Some of the mitigation, the existing Public Works building has already been demolished. It was asbestos containing, so we actually had a asbestos company come and remove that and then take the building down. The equipment, cleanup and such. There is also flood mitigation work for, that stretch that's known as Harold Avenue, the dike that's along the rock base there. That would be more of a Jared question as to where our process is on that, but there will be some ongoing works on that side of the river. I can't speak to anything on the Carina side, so.
Yeah, sure. That's was determined right after the flood that that section of road needed to be armored in order to protect the bank, so protect second bench type of area. We're still waiting for permits, and we applied for them pretty much right away. So it's been years now. We're waiting for tenure and works in and about a stream. So that's all from the ministry. It's got to come. Still waiting.
Yeah. Do you see what any credence, what they're talking about in terms of, I imagine from oil and blah, 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 and all that kind of stuff. That, no, I mean, the problem is it's right beside the river and it's,
Yeah.
they live right across the.
From what I've seen on that lot, pretty much anything was contained, like there were oil containers for used oil, things like that.
Yeah.
I don't know about the way in the past, but I don't really see that area being very contaminated. I think Sean did address that area in the meeting, that if we did take that out, kind of straighten it out, would add a little bit, but not.
We did talk about that.
Yeah.
But the amount that would be gained there is not
Not enough to really do anything.
But even if we did a little bit of work to clean it up with the premise that we're trying to deal with this.
What's it look like now? I haven't been down. So.
It's clear, really.
Clear, sandy.
Yeah,
Already?
it's all cleaned up. We have a few parts in the very back there, but
It's narrow one down there. Down.
yeah.
Yeah.
I just know that along with everything else, we're gonna be hearing about this.
So maybe what we should do then is, between the two of you guys, CAO, maybe we should get the bus or something, take council to these sites so we can take a look around. And maybe we have one of those field trip days that we talked about.
Well, all I was thinking is if you did a soil test. Something that
Yeah.
you took some tests or something of the ground. If it all was contained and everything else, because, and I would have hoped that being a municipal building that we would have looked after that sort of thing. And if it is all was contained, then a few tests should show that, hey, we're within the boundaries that needs to be.
You're filing well for paperwork this week, is it? What else do?
Yes. We should be, for the 10th, I believe, we'll be filing our fiscal year claim report.
Leave it in your guys' capable hands. Does anybody else have a question, James? Thanks, James. Recreation, wow.
Yeah, I'm filling in here for Nadine. Nadine is away on holidays, but the report is there for Council's perusal. But I'll just highlight a couple things, and I mentioned in my report that is the 10-year master plan. This is a very important strategic document for council and going forward. I'm excited to get this initiated. Phase one, they're actually working on it now. Phase one is underway. They're gathering all the background information, doing some surveys. They're engaged with staff. They're meeting with staff on a bi-weekly basis. May, the month of May, you'll see community engagement start, and I believe they'll also have an event at the mining days as well. So that'll be the first opportunity that the general public will see that they're in the community and explain what they're doing and what to expect and sort of answer any questions and take any feedback. So that's the start of it, really. It's probably a year-long project. highlight pickleball courts in Memorial Park. They're well underway. Got a great group of volunteers down there. They've done well with their fundraising. The town is sort of partnered with them. Council has submitted a grant to them as well. And that's moving along very quickly. You'll see the work down there. They're doing all the base prep work for Peter Brothers to come in and do the paving. And then right after that will be the painting and the fencing. So once they get this base completed, it'll finish off fairly quickly, actually. It's going to be a nice addition. And of course, as we mentioned at the last council meeting, there's a donation of playground equipment. So that'll be our another piece that Public Works will work on. And once the construction part of the courts are done, we'll move to finishing off the playground equipment. Down in that area, I just want to highlight that the pool will open hopefully, weather permitting, May 1st for swim club to get in there early. And then to the general public, we'll open it usually at our usual time, which is the May long weekend or slightly after May long weekend. Pete and his crew is doing lots of good cleanup work and repairs and maintenance and getting them opening. And it's the last thing I wanted to highlight. It's just kind of hidden in there, but last year council approved the purchase of an events trailer, and that's proven to be really successful. It's one of those, you'll see it around town when there's an event or a major thing that's happening. Staff will just drop the trailer off. They have a clamp on the tire so no one can steal it. But in there is tables, chairs, signage, anything to do with helping our groups with putting on a successful event. And it just saves a little bit of staff time as far as picking things up and moving things around, whatever. The volunteers that have the event, they access the tables and chairs out of the trailer and then they put it back into the trailer. So it's just a way of streamlining things, a way that we can support the events a little bit better and securing the equipment and so it's worked out really well. I will just open it up to questions now. Nadine has got a big list of events, and you can see we've got lots of things happening and coming up. Her department is very busy. I think doing a great job.
Well, Jim, the kiosk for the disco, it says sometime in May. Do you guys think can we get it out before that, or are we waiting for?
I think we're gonna get it up before, I believe, collaboration between Pete and us, we'll get the kiosk up.
The pickleball course at Memorial Park, we followed it online, and like you say, they're doing an amazing job. If I understand correctly, there was 3 courts there.
There's 4.
Oh, there's 4. Okay, so now is that in addition to the 2 up at Riverside, or to replace them?
No, that'll be an addition. I know that this school, they've got their own project for that site. And so they'll likely be closing down those courts while they do their project, but then reopening them once their project's
Okay,
complete. So
and as far as we know, they'll probably still use Riverside indoors in the off season. Yeah, okay, well, good for that.
Anybody else? Yeah, go ahead.
The question is to do with when I'm driving by there when school's end or whatever, so on weekends and whatever, there's kids playing basketball there all the time. And I could, to do with George's question, I can see the point of that at some time, if we're not gonna utilize that for basketball, then somewhere within the municipality, it seems to be a fairly popular thing where seeing kids come out there shooting the basketball and that sort of thing. But when the pickleball is on there, I think they have a little section on the right-hand side of it. And then if that's enough, that's enough, I guess, but it may.
Every night, every single night. There's yesterday I was went into town and it was windy and cold and they were still out there playing basketball. Yeah. We should sports blocks. I know we've talked about James and Gary and Wildlife about doing something more for that.
these kind of things, I'm hoping will be gleaned out of the community through the
the process of the master plan. So we should be getting a lot of good ideas out of the community and locations and new facilities needed. So, that one up at the Riverside is a multi-use facility. It's pickleball usually in the mornings, basketball in the afternoons. But you're right.
They actually come to tournaments, like, you know, out there at night and there'd be a family playing pickleball on one side and good kids are playing basketball on the other side and they fight, it's great. It's like they've all worked it out amongst themselves and it's fun to watch.
If there's that many during school time,
Yeah.
how much for 2 months of the year?
Yeah.
Anyway, it's just something we could look at.
If there's nothing else, we'll move on to protective services.
Thank you, Mayor, calling council. As to what the best way to present this information is, it seems like they have. If there are any questions, go ahead and stop me. So generally from my office, we've completed service agreements for the fire department. There's an RDOS mutual aid agreement, and then there's a agreement for service, the regional district, which council had looked at last council meeting. And a request from that meeting was some better mapping descriptions for basically whatever. Did I give you my what the actual boundaries are currently. This was the question that Councillor Gould had about the document. Okay. So the RDOS and communities are working on an extreme heat advisory committee within a committee to come up with a heat plan. This is a plan that was originated in 2021 through granting a joint agreement with the regional district. It's proving to be taking quite a long time to secure that information so that we can provide the plan. Lord grant applications for implementation of the plan. So there's the planning. We go forward with the implementation so we can get funding for modifications to the community, such as planting trees, removing heat sinks, adding features and other options for cooling. I attended the Hope Princeton Highway 3 wildfire planning meeting, which links Eastgate, the west side, as far as Hope and Princeton, in a cohesive understanding of our resources and opportunities to assist each other. There was an annual emergency management readiness meeting in Penticton, hosted by the regional district, and more information about what we're facing for the summer and heat and the effect of water supply for well users and the Similkameen River. We traveled to the Merritt to meet with the CAO, EPC, and the ESS to talk about cooperation agreement with them. In principle, what we might be able to share, how we might interact during an event. We found a real breakdown during 2021 the evacuations and fires in the summer and then again in the fall when we were experiencing flood and impingement on roadways and that sort of thing. So that was the nature of our discussion and sharing ESS resources in a time of crisis. So, and then just general meetings as required. The fire department received a grant that was applied for training and equipment. Chief was able to attend today, so there's no update, but one will be coming as it's the end of the season. And then the fire engine chassis was support services. The joint application for funding with the regional district was approved. Maureen's attended various in-person meetings, monthly meetings with town ESS team, and monthly meetings with the coordinating the regional team. Recruitment does continue to be a challenge. I imagine a challenge for all volunteer organizations, but Maureen's working hard to recruit application. Continued support to the regional district, Carameus, and Tulameen volunteers. Because of our positioning and Maureen's experience, she has fostered and supported the regional district in those communities with developing their ESS programs. One of the activations that we managed to assist with was families impacted by wildfires, landslides, in the Carameus, Lorson, Alcameen, Indian Band, and the others. Although this past year we haven't, as a community, experienced any issues, ESS is still responding to requests from the regional district. Fire Smart grant application was approved, and the Fire Smart group is gearing up for the season. They had their season opener meeting last week, which was attended by all the mitigation specialists. And there's a plan in place to continue to supply Fire Smart community and attend most all of the events that are planned for our community, reaching out to people for. And then the mitigation work at Swan Lake was approved and is nearing completion. So if you haven't walked through Swan Lake recently, you may notice that there is a better sight line underneath the trees. So the group went through and they limbed up a minimum of 10 feet off the ground for trees that are large and less for smaller trees. That provides the ability of a fire to stay on the ground and fire crews to get in and take care of that before it reaches up into the upper structure of the forest. WildSafe BC grant application was accepted and we're just awaiting approval. I expect that's going to come quite soon. I was given an email indicating it is approved in principle, but the funding from the provincial government hasn't yet been set. Winter deer feeding continues to be an issue throughout seasonal concerns relating to does protecting newborn fawns from predation will be upon us soon. That's a warning to all people dog walking or walking in general. Deer will give birth to a fawn and then protect that area without the fawn moving on. It becomes fairly aggressive to that fawn's continued life. So if you're going to interrupt that, you're going to have the deer attend your position. No reported bear encounters yet this spring.
And can I interrupt you about that too? Sorry. The winter deer feeding, are we enforcing the bylaw on that?
Yes,
Okay, so there has been some citations given.
No.
No?
so enforcement is
Just
an
education?
educational process through which we try to have compliance. So rather than generating court, explaining to people why they shouldn't be feeding, giving them the information, continued work through the safe coordinator provides a good basis for people to understand why that's a problem. We are looking for compliance, not punitive action.
So you're finding that education is correcting the behavior then?
Yes.
It's just new people popping up, new reports?
Yes, those people that are constant, like coming up regularly, there is a time when that sort of education part is going to end.
Okay.
So,
So we're still monitoring.
yeah.
Thank you.
Emergency Operations Center, 2024 grant was accepted and awaiting approval. Extreme heat, disaster risk reduction, climate adaptation planning is still in the process with the regional district and the plans. Implementation of that or implementation to council will be in December. 2021 flood recovery, some items that are still lingering, continued state of local emergency weekly is submitted. Red Cross is still active in our community. Plan removal of the temporary flood protection, which is the ESCO basket and sandbags. Be make plans for that soon. And then I was just forgetting that the animal holding area was lost during the flood in the public works area, and it has not been replaced yet. So we've got temporary arrangements currently, but that should be addressed. Hopefully this year we'll have something before council to make better explain the plan for that. Princeton bylaw. The 2024 grant application for the situation table was approved. It was $70,000 to establish a group of individuals throughout our community, professionals, to deal with a case-by-case basis planning for people that are suffering or having issues with addiction, housing. And new staff training continues, and compliance with the property bylaw and traffic is still challenging. Emergency program coordinator, monthly meetings with the regional district, monthly ESS, Princeton team meetings. So that, and then finally, the Swan Lake application with the province is still outstanding. I haven't received any communications to this at this point.
Well, say thank you. Thanks for your team continuing working with others. Well, it's something we identified way back in 2017, and it's been an ongoing issue where we don't have coordination between ourselves and other jurisdictions. And I know we've been preaching that we need to start collaborating and the Highway 3 group and Marines work around some of it. It's being noticed around. This is changing the way they do business, and it's coming together, and appreciate the hard work that you guys have done. And continue that aspect, even our roundtable that they have, you guys have for the wildfire roundtable, but Rockbridge, that brought everybody. So, thank you again.
Thank you.
Planning and Development Services. So the longest meeting.
Keep it pretty brief. Lots of, as the building department mentioned, over 300 doors or so in the works, and obviously many more ideas and prospective development opportunities are coming to light. With our adoption of the new OCP late 2023, we've seen a number of our new development permit areas come into effect. So we've, I think currently we're working on four applications for business park development permits that are at various stages up there. We're working on, I think I've got 7 wildfire protection development permits that are also in the works, as well as 4 multifamily developments that are also now collecting development permit applications. So busy on that end of things. We've seen a couple of our minor variance processes. We've approved our first one through delegation to staff at the end of March. That was for citing of a building. I think we worked out a process that's pretty transparent to show how it gets delegated and where that approval comes from on that end. Probably the last 2 things I'll touch on are our age-friendly assessment plan, the final review, and there was an open house held at the senior center at the end of March, and our last round of surveys to do with that final draft closed on March 31st. So should see something soon for that one. Then the last thing I'll touch on, I've just, we were asked by council to include a bit of an update on the facade improvement program. A couple little highlights in there for you guys. Some of the, I would say, cornerstone projects that have come through. Obviously, with the major improvements at Shoppers Drug Mart, that's been probably our best advertisement for the program. But we're currently sitting at 9 completed projects since 2021. You can see the breakdown of how those projects ticked up from 2 up to 4 in 2023, and I would suspect we'll get a couple more here coming quickly for 2024. Average projects really range. Our biggest one was over $80,000 to the landowner's expense. The average, outside of a couple of larger ones, I think we've had 3 over 30,000. The one outlier at 80, and more in that 10 to 12 range. So happy with the program, and certainly hopeful we can keep it going and see some more improvements here.
Questions? So just over $400,000. Well, with the 12. Yeah, that's awesome.
Sorry, the 12 include the 9 that are completed. There's 3 outstanding. Yeah.
Oh. Now my number.
The math.
Okay, get out. Gary, it's your turn. Better be good.
They were on the agenda.
All right, I'll just go through the first part with economic development, everything. We're busy again at the industrial park. There's lots of action going on there. We have the one we're waiting on completion. We have another one that's coming. If everything goes as planned, we'll be down to 2 industrial lots probably by May, which is pretty encouraging. Hearing all the time about the price of our land is, very affordable, and there's definitely been, we're seeing the effects of the town, I think, in general, with where we're moving with facade improvements, beautification, just the general improvements in the town, we're seeing that feedback from people looking to invest here. And they're making note of it when I talk to them. They're seeing like what the town has to offer. And I think it's becoming more of a focal point when they're trying to make an informed decision about coming here. And we're winning out over other communities, I think, because of our efforts in some of those other areas, which is really encouraging. We have new signage. We're going to get the wings finally put on the industrial park signs. We were concerned with some wind loads and things like that to make sure we could get the right style of sign. So that's in the works. So that should be up shortly. Once the new budget gets approved, we'll be good to go. Thank you, James. Business attraction, we're going through. I have a marketing campaign going through a number of different magazines, including BC Business, BC Economic Development. Those are hitting at different stages throughout the year. The Bridge Street Plaza project is hopefully going to move forward now with that van shell. We'll see that getting put in. Sitka delivered it. They got tired of sitting on their yard for as long as it has, but it's down here now. So I'm encouraged to see that. Looks like we're good to go. That's been a big help through Public Works, and Jim and his crew have been really good with getting to the stage where we're at. The expansion in the next phase of the industrial park we've been working on with Jared, and I've been talking about it, and Lyle, and we've been discussing where the next phase are going to be. Switching into tourism, in the report. Yeah. So I'm a firm believer that tourism goes hand in hand with economic development. It's a big piece of the puzzle. The more people we get into town, seeing what we have here to offer, and the more information and the number of times we can hit them and hit people with different marketing pieces, I think it is a direct reflection on what we'll see with hopefully business investment eventually coming here. And it's a long process. It's not something that happens overnight. And the cliche, it's a marathon, not a sprint, is very applicable to when it comes to marketing. So this is kind of a breakdown with our socials that we've done. And I just wanted to point out a few things on this. Can I click your?
Yeah, Cora. It's all yours.
Okay, sorry. So we have an active social media campaign going on. So we've engaged so far 235,000 people in 23. That was last year. 22,000, like you can see the breakdowns there. We're very active, like our YouTube videos are gaining a lot of exposure where they're actually viewing it. And from all this information to discern here, what the audience reach, what's impresses it, if you look at the top cities, this is the interaction per capita. And you'll see we have 40% of our people are watching our videos. And it's based on per capita, and we do have a smaller population. The reach is there. And when you compare it to other cities, like in our area, like even Vancouver gets 4.9%, and Osoyoos 3.8%, and Kelowna 3.8%. 40% of people are looking at our videos. They're actually watching the whole videos. They're going through and spending a lot of time on our stuff, which has been really good. And we've hit different areas. We've had like Wildlife Wednesdays and Museum Mondays, and we've done different things to kind of showcase various different programs. The Posse's been a good draw. It gets a lot of views. It gets a lot of views from out of town. It's interesting. I hear from people that are kind of following the Posse through our socials that don't live here, and they've drawn a lot of interest. So it's been good to see that. TikTok has been really good. Instagram, as you can see, has been really good. Very engaged. The reels are very popular. This is something that's been working on. This is a work in process. It's our animation. So we have what you'll see there are some of our storyboards. 4 years. Yeah, this has been ongoing, but we see the artwork that these are the boards that have been done. So we're working on a theme that will have the animals that we have statues of, and they will come to life and kind of animate a little promotional video to highlight the town and some of the things we're doing. And they'll all have different characteristics and personalities. And, we've got some really great, the artist that's worked on this has done work with Disney and things like that. So we're pretty excited to roll this out. It just takes time like everything else, but we're getting there. And I'm hopeful we'll see something here this year with this. As a result of all the things we've been doing with our marketing partners, so in particular 3030 Stories has been the group I've used since day one that started with the conceptuals, and they've been in doing the filming and they handle our socials. We have Outdoor Adventure Magazine is now going to do a 2-year campaign for 2 seasons about Princeton. And that's at no cost to us. That's just through the things we've done. They've picked up on Princeton and are going to showcase and highlight us in that program. They're from camping, travel, and then like, you know, different event, like different things like that.
Lifestyle.
Yeah. With the new plaza, we're hoping to have the film sessions in the square. And then develop that into like a meeting space and have that all going. So you'll see the numbers there. The 235,000 was our social media accounts, what they're bringing in. We're seeing that go up every month. Like that's a process that the more we're involved with that, the higher that number is going to go. And again, that translates into, you know, more people coming here, more interest in the town. Very heavily on the film focus for 24. I'm hoping with the mayor now on the board with the Similkameen Film Commission that we're going to get more action there. But I've also spoken with set people from Hallmark that have come down here and looked at the town, and a number of reasons are moving further east, which is very encouraging. It looks like we have some partnerships with some of the other members of the community that will help with that. And I think that's going to be a big driver. I'm hoping we get our first film this year, and then that will expand onto that. That's a big part of economic development. If you watch any of the Marvel movies, you'll see that that's all the Atlanta Economic Development Department that brings all those Marvel movies out. And they're the big push behind that. So
It's a TV show. It's filmed in Langley. They have a whole town built. Do you know what's a TV show I'm talking about? They have a whole town built on this ranch that stays there. Like, it's nuts. It's $50 a person just to go check out the set. Like,
yeah,
this has been brought up to us by the film commission. That the Wild West town that was over that way somewhere burned down. And if we could find a place that we could build a Old West town, they would probably film just whatever Western here.
Yeah, movie tourism is a big industry where people just want to go where the movies have been filmed and see the sets and be a part of it. It's definitely a big draw, and you'll see BC in general is really focused around that because so much is filmed here. 3030 Stories applied for a Nat Geo, National Geographic grant last year, and they got it, and they pitched it based on a documentary about the town. So that's in the works and been filmed. Part of the reason they were able to do that is because we engaged them for the conceptuals. They've got literally thousands of hours of what's called B-roll film of the community and pictures, and it's amazing how much film footage we've got over those years, and that's getting all put together into a documentary, and it's going to kind of showcase where the town has come. It's showing the transition of the revitalization. It's going to touch on the flood. There's going to be different things in there, kind of showing some of the hurdles we've gone through with COVID. And Nat Geo was really pleased with the conceptual of that idea when they pitched it to them. So that's pretty exciting. This just kind of showcases some of our strengths. We just put it in there, and you can look at that at your own leisure. It's in the report. And then our vision for growth, continuing with the marketing plan. The next part I'll show you is a launch. I'm planning a 3-year marketing plan that's coming up, and that will be in the next part of my presentation. This will just show you the growth framework. So going through some of the innovation we're doing. So we have the virtual reality room up and running. We're probably one of the only visitor centers, if not the only one that's doing that. We are now in collaboration with the Vancouver Film School. So there's a class at the Vancouver Film School that we're working with, and I've spoken to them a number of times, and they're doing a virtual reality project for us. And that again is completely part of their course load. There's no charge to the town. Probably if we were having, we have 13 students that are working on that project. They're all international. I got to meet with them online and talk to them. I'm hoping to go down and see them and get them some Princeton gear and get to talk to them, but they were very excited about some of the things we're doing. We're looking at doing some virtual reality where Billy Miner might do some narration on different things here in town. We've kind of got him animated, and they're working on different things to do with that, and kind of a gallery that will blend into our VR room. So we're a few years ahead of everybody, in my opinion, on virtual reality. And with the film school involved with this, it's really good because the exchanges that they get to use us as a model for their resumes. And it's been really neat because they're from all over the world. So, I'd like to try and get them down here. And even if we can't get them camping for a night, because some of them I think they're literally from all over and probably never experienced that. So I'm trying to make some arrangements, maybe get them down at the municipal campground for a day or two. We're working on the augmented reality with the sculptures. So again, those will come to life. That's the plan. You flash a QR code over the sculpture. The sculpture actually comes to life. Plans are to have them speak at some point, that they can actually get off their pedestals and move around. We've got the owl that its head will turn, eyes will blink, all kinds of neat things with it. Again, that's some of our, with the animation we're building in there, you see some of the technology we're using. What we're seeing is with the VR room, it's very interesting that everybody who goes and has done it, the response has been really positive. We're seeing a really big, from young people, I would say probably up to maybe 16, are really into it. And then we'll see probably, I would say the 55 and up are the next group that's really, really into it. And, the reactions is pretty funny. I'd like to film them because it's always the same. Like you see people do it. We had a little guy in there last week, and he was trying to row. He was 4 years old, and you could see him. He was trying to row with the kayak going in, and it was pretty funny. Again, this is just some of the other, we've got some influencer work we're working with, some different groups. So we're tracking the coverage. That again, we're focusing on Princeton as a home of innovation and getting that across. So hopefully the VR will start to see some businesses. Maybe we can start to attract that kind of a group here as well with different tech options to further expand our reach. There's a summary. I won't go through every one of them. There's quite a bit in there, but you can look at that at your own leisure. And that was that one. Again, aggressive print marketing campaign. We have a digital media campaign. Pull that one up, James. So the marketing campaign that I'm working on now it's a 3-year plan. It is called Princeton Welcomes the World. We keep track of all the people that come into our visitor center and where they're from. And they'll mark it in there. So over the last few years, we've kept a pretty detailed list of where people are from. So this is the Welcomes the World campaign. You'll see this exact image that you're looking at here at a billboard at the Kelowna Airport on the Channel Parkway billboard in Penticton.
Yeah, comments,
And the Superboard in Abbotsford. Actually, these are the 3 here. So if you're checking in at the Kelowna Airport, over at the baggage, right when you come in, turn to your right, kiosk. And it's right there where the white spot kind of signs are. Where
I love the one you got over by Tim Hortons in particular. Is you're sitting there, everybody has to stop at that stop sign, and then there's Princeton flashing up, and as you're sitting in traffic at Penticton,
yeah.
Anthony, he's the one that was, at the UBCM, they talked extensively about the presentation that Mayor Coyne did on your behalf about the hashtag rediscover Princeton. And Anthony from Penticton, it's Anthony, right? From Penticton?
which from the city.
Yes. That was like, well, we did this, and then we would say this. And then we'll do this. It's very good. It was very good.
So we're still using the Rediscover Princeton, that's still active, but we're transitioning into this Princeton Welcomes the World hashtag. So these are some of the plan is to roll this out starting May 1st. These are some of the things we have. So I had posters done up and we're gonna offer those to any of the businesses if they'd like to put them in the windows, show they're participating. The decals you see there are for our town trucks. We're gonna put them on the back of the town trucks. We've got large 12-inch decals to put on there. We have small ones that we're gonna give away at the visitor center. These are a couple of ideas we're doing with some clothing, nothing firm yet, just some trial. Again, this is the VR is going to be involved with that. The restaurants and hotels, like when we launched the app, we did the table tents, if you remember. So I've done table tents again to promote the Bronze Sculpture Capital and the virtual reality. So the plan is we get everybody to start at the visitor center and the lures to draw them in there, and then we can push them out because then our staff can kind of influence, where people are going and get them out and about in the town. So the idea is focus mainly on getting them to start there. This is the plan that Councillor Elliott was asking about, the flag replacement. So with the Welcomes the World campaign, these are the countries that we've noted that have been here. So what you'll see there is their national flag and the word welcome in their language is on the flag. So the plan is to replace the 2 existing flags for the summer season with this flag concept that you see here. So it should add a lot of color into our downtown and be vibrant. And you'll see that we've had 43 different, I don't know if there's 43 on there, I don't think there is, but we've had 43 different countries, 46 different countries that have been here, where people have come in and signed. So this one here is, the map ads we've done, the magazine ads, again, this is what we're working on, our social. And that is.
Gary,
Yes.
can you explain a little bit why Princeton, other than just the fact that people have been here?
So thank you. So what I'm looking at doing with that is a 3-year campaign. As 2 years with where we're welcoming the world, we're gearing up for the fact that World Cup is coming to North America. Vancouver's got, I believe, 9 games. 4 billion people watch the World Cup. It's the biggest event going. So we'll transition hopefully into when 2026 rolls around with World Cup. We'll have some sort of World Cup flavor to our Welcomes the World campaign. I would like to see, if possible, is we start using the square where we could actually televise games and get community events going down there. And that could be something maybe we do for other sporting events too, where we can actually show games down there. If we're not charging, there won't be any issues with broadcasting and things like that. And it would be good community building. And I think we'll get a lot of people that would be interested in that. Again, in the summer with World Cup, we've got the long weekends, all the people at the RV park, we can get them, bring them in. And it's a way, I think, that we show that Princeton is a welcoming community without having to use some of the terminology that I think is overused. I think Princeton is a very welcoming place, and I don't think we need to say certain things that, gets put out there with inclusion. And I think when you say we welcome the world, we blanket to everybody. And it's just the way, I think it's a good perception of the town that it's a very welcoming place without using the normal jargon.
Questions?
The flags that you were talking about, the banners that you were
Yes.
talking about, do you have a cost on that and an estimated timeline?
Cost is about $175 a flag. Timeline is a few weeks.
And is that within your?
It's in the marketing budget.
I noticed you mentioned the posse in there. I was interested, I was talking to a young fellow, I don't know, 35, 40 years old. Lived in town for a few years, working at the mine. He was just saying there was nothing to do here. And now we have the posse, 2 times a week or whatever, entertainment. And it's happening at the worst time of the year as far as tourism goes, right? Because it's bringing people in when we really need them. July and August and May and June and September, you know, most businesses are doing fine. But during the worst time of the year, I mean, there's so many of us around this table that are directly involved with it. But I guess what I'm saying is I think council needs to take a look at whatever we're doing to support them. I think we need to find ways to see if we can enhance that.
I mean, Mark and I have been talking about having the visitor center as a hub to buy tickets year round, which I think would be a great idea. I mean, it's good for us because it hockey season comes up, starts in October. That's kind of when we start to slow down. We're seeing growth in our shoulder seasons without a doubt. So October and November, we're seeing our busier. March and April, we're seeing our busier too. So I think that's good. And then, but we do have that void here. Like there's without a doubt, we go into November to February. It's pretty quiet.
I'll jump in there. So through the SBPS, we were gonna put in for Etsy grant this, it had to be done Friday. Well, we're putting it off until the fall. Intake right on for some more grants, because there's only, well, we weren't sure if we actually qualified for a small grant because all of our communities combined for over 7,000 people. So we're looking at where we can find other grant funds. I mean, what we want to do is we want to create a plan for the entire valley. If you think about where Princeton sits and it works in the way Gary was telling about as Princeton being the hub, right? We've got Manning Park, we've got Apex, we've got Nickel Lake, we've got China Ridge. If you start looking at everything else that we have to offer, we come to the winter stuff. Princeton excels, right? In the summer, maybe it's the lower end of the valley with the wineries and all that kind of stuff. But if we can figure out a way to like turn Princeton into that the winter spot, and everyone comes here for skidooing and everything else, ice fishing, you name it, then we can benefit from that bigger growth plan. And then that helps Gary do his job. Before we know it, we have a 4-season economy based around tourism, not just everything else. And we do have a lot going on. And I think another thing, like, go back and look at Nadine's list of all the activities happening here this year. We have a family in town that are very active in rugby, and she's really trying to get rugby off the ground. And James has got, lacrosse going. We don't own any sports fields other than ball plant. Like, these are things that we really need to start looking at. Like, are we gonna support the sports that we have and turn them into something? I think this year with Merrick joining the KI, if they did that, I think that's gonna be great for business. I think we could really create a ride there. And it's funny that you brought up because I asked Lyle last week if there's a way that staff could figure out a way that we could maybe contribute a little bit more to the posse and better partner, a bigger partner. How we do that and help with the merchandising and whatnot, right? So Lyle and staff are looking at options right now. How do we benefit from that? How do we help the community grow? Because really the posse it's a community club, right? It's not like a lot of other clubs. We're a major contributor to it, and should we be a bigger contributor? I think that's a conversation that I want to have, and I've sort of asked staff to look into that so they can bring it back and give us some options.
And from a board perspective, I really have to thank council when we switched over from grant status to line item. Tremendous. We don't have to worry about that anymore. It's there. We don't have to apply. We don't have to. Just that was a real appreciative step. Do you have any plans or how we're going to go about servicing new lots? Or would we do it on a 10 or 20, or would we do it on 2 or 3 at a time?
Well, we kind of thought about that. I guess it depends on funding, really, ultimately. Ideally, I think we'd be best if we could do the whole thing at once because we've seen how much everything goes up. If we could service the entire industrial lot at one time, it'll be to our benefit 5 years from now, because, you know, we can still keep it more affordable if we can do it all at once, but I think we'll be close if our land sales go as I'm anticipating here in the next month. We'd be pretty close to being able to do based on what the last report was that we had.
Yeah, be able to go in phases for sure. Each phase will pay kind of for the next one.
Are we talking like 10 lots or 20 lots?
There's a few that are looking like maybe 6 lots. The back section from the new public works down, I think we can get, there's 19 lots we can get out of that, going behind the rest of the ones that are already on. There's potential for another or so at the west end of like by the dump.
Or do we have any kind of, do you have a ballpark on?
I'm just in the middle of getting the estimates kind of freshened up and then kind of put together. Right now, a potential one would be where the water main loop went through. You could get, I think, 6 lots in there, and right now to service it fully, I think we're looking at 1.3.
So one thing for us to remember, okay, 2 or 3 conversations last week, where our industrial work has been brought up by people outside of our community, is that we are one of the very few places left with, in the interior, with industrial land that's being serviced. But the more important part is that it's still feasible. Right? Like if you go to, I won't mention communities, but there's a community in Okanagan, and they might as well be lower mainland places for you to get into that location. What's really attracting people here is that our land values are lower, so they can come in here and build a building, and they're not breaking the bank. They can still afford to operate. Whereas some of these other communities, there's another one that's not too far from us that's not serviced, and they're asking, I think, higher rates than we are, that's unserviced. And you have to put it on servicing that. This is, people are like, well, we're not gonna go that way, right? So they're looking at Princeton. They're looking at Princeton because of the location as well. So the affordability plus our location is really attracting people. If we get this housing thing sorted out, and Alan's working, like between Alan and Mark, they're working overtime to try to get that in place. And once that's done, I don't think we'll have a problem. Not just selling the land, but filling it up with businesses that want to move here. There's people from the United States, there's people from Alberta looking to the Okanagan, looking to the interior of British Columbia as places that, even though it's not here in the media, but that's what's happening. They're calling because they want to move to British Columbia. They want to do their business here.
Yeah, our land values are even offsetting price like shipping and things like that, which are more expensive here and not as convenient. But our land value outweighs that. Like the one group I'm working with right now, that was a big thing because they do a lot of shipping. And they could have gone somewhere else. It would have been closer for them, closer U.S. border access and things like that. And but our community, the appearance, again, back to what we have here and our land value were the 2 things they cited when I spoke to them.
When you can buy a lot here for a couple months worth of rent in those industrial works down the coast, they'll buy it as long as they find housing. So our biggest struggle right now is our housing situation. So once that's under control, and it's getting there, right? Like we've got, how many doors did you say this?
Well, what I showed you on that list was 221.
And then there's still more.
But there's a bunch more projects
that are sitting on Mark's desk that with planning. So, I mean, everything's falling into place that we've been trying to work on for the last 5 years. It's coming into place. So it's really good news for us.
Lastly, I know I've never brought it up much before, but as far as I'm concerned, you're talking about industrial park. It needs a paved road access from the highway. Like, we're going backwards as far as I'm concerned. We're going backwards. Like you could pull up on Highway 5, just paved road all the way, turn off on a paved road all the way into access, I think. You're not going through corners and blah, 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 and that long way around and everything else. I just think we can't stop working for that and seeing if there isn't some way we can make that happen. So,
I agree.
don't care if it's on the present road now, or whether you widen it a little bit here and there, or whether you, whatever, we need to get it done.
No pressure, guys. Does anybody else have?
I just have one more.
There's another.
Yeah, I got one more thing to show you. I know. Apologize.
Oh, this one. Oh, excellent.
So, as part of our film attraction, we've been working with a company, to put together this piece, and it's a marketing piece to bring in film. So this is just a short video. We're gonna add this into our website. We'll actually be using this. The plan is to go out and speak with, at different events with the film industry, and we actually have this video. Once my knee is back in order, I've got some appointments booked for the coast to actually go see the film commissions out there and their location people. So we'll just quickly, I can just show you this. That sci-fi one at the end when the two lasers go in, and if you look at the background, it's all like totally done up in like a dystopian future world, and I just think they did a great job with that one. It's probably my favorite. I'm sure the Hallmark one will probably be the one that garners the most interest initially, but if I have my choice, I hope to push that one because I think that tunnel and bridge area is where the washout was. It could be to our advantage. Like we could maybe see something come out of that, positive out of a negative. And that's it. The other part is the municipal campground. Just to touch on that briefly, is the amenities building is coming along nicely. We're just waiting now to hear from Fortis about power. We have to run the power across, but it's going together over there as planned. So if we can get power, we'll be good to go.
Oh, any questions?
Is there any hope for the trail to be off the town?
Not at this time.
Well,
Okay, thank you, everybody, that's. Motion to adjourn.
Make that motion.
Second.
Oh, 20%. All in favor? Carried.
Thanks.